Ecclesiastes 10, verse 7. I saw slaves riding on horses, whilst princes were walking like slaves. That is what is happening in Zimbabwe. You are a king and you don't even know it, and you have got a country to fight for. You have got a land to possess. And no, I'm not Moses taking you to the promised land. I am Ngobani Zod, telling you the truth of what is rightfully yours and asking you to begin to actively demand that which belongs to you. And if indeed you are going to make this demand, and if indeed it belongs to you, it goes to say that you need to grow in capacity to be responsible and take care of it. In our country, as we are believing the Lord for deliverance from our own people, from one family, it has come to my attention that one of the critical areas that we need to focus on is building capacity. We do have a story to tell. We do have justification for our battle. However, are we ready to take over? Are we ready to build? Are we equipped? Have we done analysis of self to see what strength we possess and what weaknesses we need to either work on or to accept and learn how to live with them? Because not all weaknesses should be resolved or should be overcome. Some weaknesses just need to be understood and then move on. Just focus on your strengths. Why I must say this, I want to take us back to the fundamentals that we are going to build our country upon. If you study whether it's modern civilization or ancient civilization, you will see that settlements are determined by two very important things: availability of food and water and the right climate. Zimbabwe has got the right climate and we've got the right land to produce our own food. If you look at other civilizations, you will see that they will cycle along rivers, whether it's in China, in the Yangtze River, or it's in Mekong rivers that start at the Himalayas down the way to South Asian countries. You see that's where the population is. Or it is in Europe, in the Danube River, where all the great cities of Europe, in former Yugoslavia and neighboring nations, or whether it's in the United Kingdom, it is London, the Thames River. Water resource is a key element for agriculture, which is food production. Zimbabwe has got an opportunity to build its economy anchoring on that first and foremost. I do not want us to think that agriculture is an archaic industry. It's not. People have been eating since time immemorial. And we really need to understand that food security is something that is going to be needed and to perpetuate. So one thing that we need to do first and foremost is to fix our agricultural sector. And how do we do that? We make sure that all arable land is fully utilized through the use of water systems or creation of water systems that will improve the current ones. We do have Lake Kariba, the Zambezi River. Remember the Zambezi River water project. It's called the Matabeleland Zambezi River Project or water project. A necessary tool for irrigation in Matabeleland. And then we can build more dams in the country and more canals and pipelines from Kariba Dam, even in Midlands and parts of Mashonaland and Masvingo. We have to optimize agricultural land. If you look at Google Maps, look at the South African map, you will see that South Africa has almost optimized all of its arable land. It doesn't matter where it is, whether it's in the Western Cape, you see in the mountain peaks where there's places where there's plains, it's already fully being utilized for agricultural purposes. Even in the central Karoo Desert, the agriculture there is sheep rearing and stuff. It is fully utilized. So we need in Zimbabwe to fully utilize our scarce resource, which is land, and to work hard on water resources. Key critical point in the fundamental of our economic growth has to be able to harness the capacity to provide water across the regions, all 6 regions, including the region number 6. Region number 6 is the hottest, like Matabeleland, a very dry region. Okay, but with water and irrigation, it can work. Not forgetting other forms of animal agriculture as well. That has to be a program that is anchored by government. And I've said in a previous video that as we renegotiate with our former colony, Britain, we could be in a position where we're able to create agricultural supply chain and agricultural IT technologies together with the British agricultural system. Ever since Brexit and even after COVID, Britain suffered with securing food from Europe due to many rules and regulations that the European Union have waged on the British economy. And obviously, the European Union does not want Britain to find it easy after Brexit. So, because they wouldn't want to encourage other countries within the EU to do the same as Britain. So you see now the sources of food. Britain now, therefore, has got an opportunity to interact with their fellow African members of the Commonwealth, like Zimbabwe, in creating this food security, not just for our people in Zimbabwe, but also for the British. For us as Zimbabweans, we get to gain a ready market and a market with a strong buying power. That is very essential. And that is why we need to renegotiate the terms of engagement with our former colony. That agricultural success would lead to a beneficiation, value addition on the produce. I'm talking about local food manufacturing. What Zimbabwe needs, a new Zimbabwe needs, is to stop relying on the South African manufacturing for food. We need that homegrown industry to grow, because one of the most important things about homegrown industry is so that we can reduce imports and increase exports for the sake of the stability of the Zimbabwean dollar. Because if we're importing a lot from outside the country, it is going to have a large weighing on the currency valuations. In that currency value will keep on losing values. So we need to work on the balance of trade and balance of payments. Number 2, a critical element in our economic building is mining industry. Because of the will of God, we so happen to possess a lot of strategic minerals, especially number one, the key important one right now is lithium. Because as the world is becoming more focused on renewable energies like electric batteries that use lithium, Zimbabwe finds itself in a very powerful position to be one of the world leaders in the production or the mining of lithium. Currently, I think we're number 4 or 5 in the top 5. All right. So we need to develop our lithium mines and begin to process lithium in Zimbabwe. I do not think that it is necessary for us to start making lithium batteries now, but I wouldn't stop any entrepreneurial Zimbabwean who would think that they can do it to produce lithium batteries. Anything can happen in the future. I want us to have that mindset of greatness. Don't look at yourself as a grasshopper. We are important. We are princes. We are kings. I'm from the city of kings and queens, so it comes natural to me to think like a king. So, in other minerals that we have, so as you can see, agriculture and mining, and we need to standardize our mining standards. Okay. When we do that, that doesn't mean that we have succeeded. No. It just means that we have created a foundation from which to build upon. And for those two to happen, I spoke of water irrigation, and number 2 is electrification. For industrialization and mining to occur, we need to produce enough electricity, which means that the 4 billion project at the Kariba Dam has to be expedited, has to be brought to the forefront and done quickly. The use of coal in Hwange. We need to ramp up our electrical production using coal in Hwange as much as we can. Okay, we're coming from a low base. We're not polluting the world as much as China is doing. We need to industrialize. We need to get Hwange mine, Hwange colliery going. And then, gas is expensive to produce electricity, but coal is very cheap. So we are going to be responsible, but we need to burn some coal. There is no way I can see possible to avoid that. And once you do that, you are focusing mainly on supplying the mines and the manufacturers and the key critical towns or cities that need the electricity. Why do I say so? Because these ones, they are able to pay. To get our electrical grid sorted out and to get these water projects up and running is going to cost billions of dollars. Perhaps 10 to 15 billion just for for electricity and water. And I haven't even spoke about a road network, because roads on its own, just to lay up a road network in Zimbabwe, you will need something like 10 billion US dollars. Already we're now talking about in the region of 25 to 30 billion. That is just startup costs. Because the way I think of Zimbabwe, I think of it as a company, as a startup. Okay. The reason why I would be willing to invest 30 billion in these essential projects is because I do believe that there is great returns in the future. One of my vision for the size of the economy in Zimbabwe is between 150 to 200 billion dollar economy. I think it's very easy. I think it's very possible. So with that 30 billion, that will also include the obvious, building schools, hospitals, taking care of the army, taking care of the police. But I'm focused more on this video on the economic front. Once you get these two industries working, then you're creating an impetus for downstream industries to be groomed and to find expression within the nation and even outside the nation. Now, there is no telling as to what can happen if a government produces an environment that is conducive for investment to take place. First, the local investor and also the foreign investor. I do know that we have got a lot of talent in the ICT as a country that is currently trapped in global systems that do not favor the black man. And that is part of the reasons why the Lord chose me and directed me for that purpose. God told me directly, said, son, the reason why you Zimbabweans need to create your own free countries because your people struggle around the world. No matter how talented they are, doors are closed on them because they are black. Or they're Zimbabweans, or they're Africans. So the Lord needs that talent to belong to a government that is supportive. Right now, most of our black governments are not supportive of black business. They are, in fact, they are jealous of black business people. When a black business person becomes rich, the government wants to arrest them, want to do funny things. Look at Econet, look at Strive Masil. Look what ZANU-PF did to him. The guy comes up with Econet, he's making money, he's a billionaire, and now he can't even go back to his own country. I mean, Strive Masiwa ran Econet and then EcoCash during the time when EcoCash essentially became the de facto currency of the country. Meaning that the guys in ZANU-PF failed to run the currency. A private company had to be running a currency that was EcoCash. Essentially, EcoCash was the currency of the country, like during the time of hyperinflation. But the guy who came up with those ideas is not even allowed in that same country. You get what I'm talking about? So entrepreneurship cannot fully express itself because of things like that. Because people in government who are not just power hungry because they've got the power, who are insecure. Okay. I am not insecure. My power is not derived from the power of others or the lack of power in others. I don't feel powerful because someone is less powerful than me. And if someone is more powerful than me, it does not take away my own power. Because my own power and my own reason for existence is to please him who sent me. And that job can only be done by me and no one else. So it's your job, can only be done by you and no one else. So the ego in politics has caused Africa to suffer tremendously. We have fallen backwards because we have got political leaders who do not understand their role in society, who think they should be worshipped instead of God to be worshipped, and let their people build and prosper. I envision a country in which even other black men, Jamaicans, Americans, from the Caribbean, Nigeria, would come and participate in this sort of newfound world. The talent in Africa is amazing, not just Zimbabwe, but across the whole continent. And not just black people in the whole continent, including Indian people in the continent of Africa, white people in the continent of Africa. They have got a tremendous talent that needs to be supported, that needs a government that can uplift them. So, who will need to open up this entrepreneurial experience to African foreigners or Africans in the diaspora, and then the rest of the world? We become a melting pot of ideas. Countries that are going to win in the future are countries that open their borders to talent, not countries that close their borders, including countries that open their borders to the refugees. When you open your borders, it's not opening just for those that have got the best talent, but even those that are discarded. The Bible says that if you do go to a foreigner and a widow, God owes you something. So if Zimbabwe does good to the desperate Malawans, to the desperate Burundians, Congolese, God will owe us a favor. You see, South Africa is being blessed. They do not understand why. It's because it is a home of many foreigners, even vulnerable foreigners who find a sanctuary in this country. Hence, they are still doing fairly well as compared to their peers. So you need to understand that mystery of the Lord, that we don't just take the best that we want, and then the rest to say, no, they are overcrowding our country. No. If poor people are coming to a country, it means there's something good you are doing. And you must just carry on shining and do the right thing. Right now in Zimbabwe, even Zimbabweans are leaving the country. There's not much foreigners coming to there's no Zambians or Malawians or Congolese saying, I want to leave Congo and go settle in Zimbabwe. They're not doing that. Even Zimbabweans are leaving Zimbabwe, which tells you that the current government is not doing well for the citizenry. Perhaps they're doing well for themselves, so they believe. But in the long term, that is actually not sustainable. So I guess you see where the vision is going. And what is left empty is for you to fill. These are the gaps, the ideas that you have for Zimbabwe, the great things that you want to do for Zimbabwe, that God has put in your mind, in your heart. And you'll be resting assured knowing that you have got a government that is going to be supportive and in fact looking for you and wanting to bless you, desiring to bless you, because it is blessing you that takes this government and this country powerfully forward. All is the Lord. Have a great afternoon. My name is Ngobani Zondo. And in the future, all these things that I'm saying are going to come to pass. Have a great day.